Babe of the day. Babe of the day. Mary Frann, Bob Newhart's second TV wife. People tend to think Suzanne Plachette and Mary Frann were radically different from each other in real life and as Newhart's wives. But were they really? Hang on just a bit and you'll find out. Next week, I'll be showing you videos of the women from Hunter, beginning with Stephanie Kramer on Monday. Works for me. Mary Frann was born Mary Frances Luke. Although there were strong differences between her and Newhart's first TV wife, Suzanne Plachette, there were also some strong similarities. Like Suzanne, show business had been Mary's life from the start. Both of them became more famous on television rather than films. Both of them never had children, and both found happy relationships later in life. Weird enough, both were the first to die from the main cast of their hit shows. Mary was a child model and appeared in TV commercials. When she was 18, she became Missouri's Junior Miss, before becoming America's Junior Miss the next year. Along with this honor came a college scholarship, which Mary used to study drama. During her time as America's Junior Miss, in 1961, she got a part in an educational film about prom etiquette called The Prom, It's a Pleasure. While in college, Mary was a weather girl for a St. Louis news station. After a year, she dropped out and moved to Chicago, where she co-hosted a morning show. During the same time, she worked in local theater productions. Early on, she went by the name of Mary Frann, adding an N. It's what she went by in high school, and it worked for her. In 1966, Mary made her feature film debut in Nashville Rebel, a musical drama starring country music legend Waylon Jennings. She played Waylon's leading lady. Although Mary had been acting for a while, she was still doing a morning show. In 1968, she had a decision to make: keep doing a local morning show, or pursue acting full-time. The latter won out, and she moved to Los Angeles to become a full-time actress. She stayed with her best friend, actress Joan Van Ark, who also became a successful actress later on. Mary's agent told her that she should change her name to something more appealing. Mary Frann wasn't getting it, in his opinion. She picked the name of Jennifer Douglas out of a phone book, and that's what she went by through at least 1969. It was as simple as that. In my opinion, Jennifer Douglas sounds rather generic. I've never heard of anyone else called Mary Frann. Mary must have felt the same, because she reverted back to it after a few years. Moving to LA was a gutsy move on Mary's part, but she hit the ground running and got work right away, and in top TV shows. She appeared in Get Smart, That Girl, and Wild Wild West the same year. In 1969, she became a recurring character in a show that could have been a hit, but wasn't. My Friend Tony was a crime drama from producer Sheldon Leonard, who had hit after hit with shows like The Danny Thomas Show, The Andy Griffith Show, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Gomer Pyle USMC, and I Spy. But by this time, his hits ran out, and Sheldon produced a string of flops. My Friend Tony, unfortunately for Mary, was one of his short-lived ventures. Series regular status eluded Mary for quite a while, but she found a lot of work in TV shows. Although she did some comedy, you saw Mary more often in something dramatic. A pair of soap operas, where Mary was a regular, were her biggest credits during the 70s. These include Return to Peyton Place from 1973 to 74, and Days of Our Lives from 1974 to 79. Also during this time, She continued to make appearances in top primetime TV shows like Quincy, The Incredible Hulk, and Rockford Files, to name a few. In 1973, Mary married T.J. Escott. In 1982, around the time Newhart was getting started, they separated, and by the next year they were divorced. This was a tough time for her, personally and professionally. When the Newhart show was being developed in 1982, it was odd that Mary Frann, who was mostly a dramatic actress, was selected as Bob's wife. And she almost wasn't. She had just been one of the stars of a failed primetime soap opera earlier that year called King's Crossing. According to Bob Newhart himself, casting the part of Joanna Loudon was tough. A lot of women were tested. One actress, who Bob refused to mention in the interview, was quite good, but there was a problem. This lady looked too much like Suzanne Plachette. Normally, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But Bob and the showrunners didn't want people to think that they got a look-alike on purpose as a lazy attempt to make the show a hit. Mary Frann, with her reddish blonde hair, was selected, and it proved to be a great choice. From the outset, Bob and Mary knew that she had a lot to live up to. People had really loved the chemistry between Bob and Suzanne. Would people like Bob and Mary as well? From the outset, Mary rocked it as Joanna Loudon. It turned out she was great as a comedy regular. The temperament between Joanna Loudon and Emily Hartley was about the same. However, Joanna had a tendency to get madder at times, although it was a cute mad, and a tendency to cause her husband more problems, although it was usually accidental. In both shows, it was always funny to see how Bob Newhart was going to tick off his wife this time, and it was always in glorious fashion. He always did, or said something to his wife that common sense would have dictated, no. Unlike the Bob Newhart show, Newhart wasn't a runaway hit right away. The first 2 seasons, although great in my opinion, fizzled. Beginning with season 3, there was a major cast overhaul, and the show that was doing sorta good became an epic TV hit. If that hadn't happened, I don't think people would remember Mary Frann as much as they do today. Where the first series was set in the big city of Chicago, and Bob played a professional man, a psychologist to be exact, this series went in an opposite direction. Bob, who played Dick Loudon, and his wife Joanna, moved from New York City to a small, nameless town in Vermont. They lived at and ran the historic Stratford Inn. Dick was an author of do-it-yourself books. Towards the end of season 2, he became the host of a local TV show called Vermont Today. This became a big part of the series, as it introduced other characters, like Dick's producer, Michael Harris. It also drew Joanna and the other characters into those storylines. In the early episodes, Dick and Joanna both ran the inn equally. As time went on, especially after Dick got his show, Joanna took on most of the duties of running the inn. Joanna had to work a bit harder because their maid, Stephanie, was totally worthless. This put Joanna more in contact with the crazy characters that came to the inn, like Larry, Daryl, and various guests. The Newhart show is a 1980s timepiece. A lot of the clothes and hairstyles you saw people wear back then are in the show. Mary Frann and Julia Duffy, who played Stephanie, were considered fashion plates. Mary in particular was famous for wearing a lot of sweaters. In the highly anticipated series finale, it was revealed that the whole series was the dream of Dr. Robert Hartley, Bob's character from the first series. He makes his wife Emily, played by Suzanne Plachette, a bit jealous by saying that he had been married to an attractive blonde wife, and that Emily should really wear more sweaters. Mary appeared on other TV shows outside of Newhart quite a bit during her time on the show. Like Suzanne, she was famous for being in TV movies. Although Mary was still a working actress until her death, her work slowed down considerably after Newhart. Mary's last role, aired during her lifetime, was in an episode of the mystery series Diagnosis Murder on February 26, 1998. Sadly, she died on September 23rd of that year. She did have one more role that aired almost 2 years after she died. The show was called Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. It was similar to Unsolved Mysteries and featured recreations of paranormal events. Some were true and some were false, which were what was revealed at the end of each episode. Due to the nature of the series, the episode with Mary's segment did not air until May 19th, 2000. Mary, in real life, was not much different than Joanna. She was a nice person and active in charities. The night before she died, she was working with homeless women at the Los Angeles Mission as part of a celebrity volunteer committee. She was also a spokeswoman for the Susan G. Komen Foundation for Breast Cancer. When Mary Frann died, it was big news all over TV. It rocked the other cast members of Newhart to the core. Mary was the first member of the main cast to die. She died in her sleep of a heart attack and was discovered by longtime boyfriend Jonathan Cookman Jr. She was only 55 and had no children. I think we were robbed. Mary had a lot of life left in her career, and I believe she had another great role ahead of her. It would have been great to see her as another Joanna Loudon-like character. She would have even been great playing a grandmother part on a regular basis. Surprisingly, she has not yet been given a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. However, she does get the honor of being Babe of the Day, Babe of the Day.